Hey guys, welcome to session 2 of Introduction to Linux System Administration. My name is Kevin Downs and I'm going to be your instructor for this course. Today we're going to go over installation and configuration. In our last session we went over Unix, Linux, and open sources, duties of the sysadmin, superuser and the root login, sharing superuser privileges with others via su and sudo commands, TCP and IP networking fundamentals. Today, we're going to go over planning, hardware and software considerations, site planning and installation methods and types, installation classes, partitions and logical volume manager LVM, file system overview, swap partition considerations and other partition considerations, the Linux bootloader or grub, software package selection, editing and configuring peripherals, printers and graphic controllers, basic networking configuration, and booting to recovery mode. So let's look at planning, hardware, and software considerations. Linux supports a wide range of PC hardware, but not even Linux supports every known device and system. Your PC must meet certain requirements in order to run Linux. So let's look at the CPU. Linux does not support the Intel 286 and earlier processors. However, it fully supports the Intel 8386, 8486, Pentium, Pentium Pro, Pentium 2, and Pentium 3 processors. Nevertheless, some users feel that their 803086 Linux system responds sluggishly, particularly running X. So, if you want optimal performance, you should install Linux on a PC having at least an 8486 processor or better. Linux does also support non-Intel processors such as the Cyrix 6x86 and the AMD K5 and K6. Most Linux users have systems that use Intel chips. If your system uses a non-Intel chip, however, you may find it more difficult to resolve possible problems. So looking at the motherboard, Linux supports the standard ISA, EISA, PCI, and VSA or VLB system buses used on most IBM-compatible PCs. Linux recently gained support for IBM's MCA bus used in IBM's PS2 series of computers. However, at the time of this writing, Debian GNU Linux does not yet support the MCA bus. So if you have an IBM PS2 bus, you may be unable to install the Debian GNU Linux, but you're going to have to check the Debian project website for the latest available information on whether or not it supports that. Your motherboard should include at least 16 megabytes of RAM, okay, for optimum Linux performance. Some users have managed to coax their Linux into working on systems with as little as 4 megabytes of RAM. However, if your system has less than 16 megabytes of RAM, you probably won't be pleased with its performance. If you plan to run X, you may wish to install more than 16 megabytes of RAM, perhaps maybe 64 megabytes. Although X operates well with the 16 megabytes of RAM, you can open more windows and switch between them more quickly if you have additional memory. Let's look at the disk storage. So Linux is actually not too hungry for disk space. To install and use Linux, you really only need about 250 megabytes of free hard disk space, the minimum being 100 megabytes, but installing Linux on a system with so little disk space is going to compel you to omit too many useful applications and will leave you with little room to work. And honestly, the minimum requirement should actually be about 10 gigs. You're going to want to install about 10 gigs on there in case you want to store files and videos and other things like that. So you could probably get away with as little as 10 gigs total for everything that you need. So, site planning. With any IT system, it is desirable that the system and its components, be they hardware or software, up and running, fully functional for as long as possible, to their highest availability. So the most desirable high availability rate is known as the 5 nines, okay, or 99.99% available. So this will help you deal with a significant outage with the data center on the following factors: LPAR failure, operating system outage, and application event. And guys, I deal with this a lot in my sysadmin role. We have a lot of jobs that have been or stopped running for unknown reasons. We have to figure out why and get them back up and running as quickly as possible. So here's a little graph as far as availability goes. Guys, don't worry about this too much. This is just an example of like kind of how things are planned and what it will look like to plan the systems and set up an actual data center. As a sysadmin, you're really not going to be doing site plans like this. Maybe once you start getting to architect or engineer levels, you'll have to set up something like this. But this is just showing the planning that goes into getting a data center or a server room set up. Okay, so you got to look at your LPAR and different ways to connect via WAN and LAN, and you can have all your database servers and your internet and your intranet. So I will point this out. Internet It's going to be internet to the outside world. Intranet is going to be internet to within your own system, meaning you're connecting within your own system. So this is how everything connects inside your different servers with each other. Okay.